Today we are diving into condos. This is a highly requested video. I get requests all the time to do a little bit of a deep dive into condominiums. Why is that? Well, a lot of people that are considering buying in Florida are looking at condos. Why is that? Because they feel very lock and leave. So people feel like because the exterior maintenance is taken care of, usually they're gated, they can kind of go enjoy themselves, lock it up, and leave. And that is appealing to a lot of people. But there are some pitfalls with condominiums that you need to be aware of. What I never want to have is where you end up with your feet in the quicksand and you cannot get out of it. So as always on my channel, I'm never telling you what you should do, what you should buy, where you should buy. I always try to give you the pieces of the puzzle, and then it's up to you to put that puzzle together. So we are trying to educate here on this channel. Now, if this is the first time we're meeting, I want to say hello. My name is Barrett Pastor, and I've been a real estate broker for 26 years. So hopefully I am coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience, and I can help you navigate all things Florida real estate. So if you want to book some time with me, everything as far as my information is down in the description box. So let's talk about some reasons that you need to go into condominiums with your eyes wide open in no particular order. The first thing is right now, condos are required, if they're more than 30 years old, to have an engineer's report done. It's a very detailed report. And what they're basically looking for is anything that would be a safety issue for the occupants. They are trying to get the condominiums brought up to today's code, where many of these condos were built in the 50s and the 60s. And at the time, the way they were built was perfectly fine, but now it isn't perfectly fine anymore. Or the way things were built then, there's much better improved technology, and you can make somewhere safer and stronger. That was all brought on by the super tragic collapse of the condominium building in Miami. You remember that, the Surfside crash, and I think it was 98 people died in that situation when that building fell. So since that happened, red flags went up everywhere, and now communities have to be brought up to code. Well, here's the thing. Who's going to pay for that? Who pays for that? You know who pays for that? You pay for that as the owner. There are many buildings right now, many entire communities, condominium communities, that are being assessed per unit over $100,000. This was just on the news a couple weeks ago that there's a big community in Miami that the owners were assessed $175,000 a piece. So can you imagine, number one, you probably don't have that kind of money laying around. Number two, yes, they're going to assess it and spread it over a certain amount of years. But that's still another fee. If you're on a budget, that may not be something that you can pay. If you're already paying more between inflation and the cost of everything else just to be alive right now, if you're already maxed out there and then somebody says, well, yeah, we're going to hit you with a $175,000 assessment, but it's okay, don't worry about it because you can pay $400 a month. In fact, you have to pay $400 a month because that is your assessment. You can't do anything about it. It's lien. You have to pay it. What do you do in that scenario? Well, that's what a lot of people in Florida are trying to figure out right now. Number two, because of the age of the property, insurance companies won't insure. There are only a small handful of companies right now, insurance companies, that will insure condos. So what are you supposed to do if you own in a community and you're being told that you're going to get dropped? You're being told that all of these improvements have to be made or they're not going to insure you. Well, you have no control over the rebar in the building. You can't do anything about that. And what if no one will insure you within your budget? What do you do in that scenario? again, that's the problem that a lot of people are running into. Now, you might be thinking, you know what I do? I don't insure. I'm on the 4th floor. I'm not worried about it. I have impact resistant doors and windows. I've been here 25 years. I've never had a problem before. I'm not going to pay insurance. Well, I get it. I understand. But what if the association says you have to provide a copy of your deck page? And many of them do. Many of them are on to that, well, you know what, as the owner, I'm just not going to insure it anymore. You put me in that position. You didn't take care of the building. You did not make sure that everything was up to date as you should have every certain amount of years. So now you expect me to pay for it? No, ma'am, I'm not going to do it. Well, the way that they're blocking people from doing that is they're requesting the deck page. Number 3, and this happened in Southwest Florida a couple years ago, the Condo Association took off with the money. All of that excess of money, they're gone. I don't know where they are. I don't know what happened, but they took all the money. They took the reserves. The money is gone. The money is gone. So all of these homeowners that have been paying condo fees, assessments, everything that's been required of them to maintain and manage, not just the buildings they live in, the elevators that they go up and down on a daily basis, the fitness center, the golf course, all of that, everything that's been maintained, the money to maintain that is gone. So what do you do about that? What is your ramification? Do you have any? The answer is no. The answer is you do not. Now, there were things put into place where the state comes in and they try to help and they try to bridge the gap, but ultimately, bankrupt is bankrupt. The next one, number 4, you have to know what the reserves look like. That is so important. Now, we just talked about a company, an unethical, immoral company taking off with the money. That is something you really can't plan for. If someone does that, they do that. It's really hard to stop it. But the reserves, you want to see them strong. Never, 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 if any agent ever allows you to move forward in a contract without the ability to review yourself, your attorney, your lender if you have one, you want to review the reserves. You want to know that there are strong reserves in a community, because when a tropical storm or hurricane comes through, you can end up where you need repairs. It might just be that there was nothing major, but there was a lot of landscape damage, or palm trees fell, or whatever it may be. Somebody's going to pay for that. Well, who's going to pay for it? As always, the owners pay for that. So if there were reserves that are available in that line item, that's why you want to look at it closely. You have line items and you have the right to look at all of that when you buy a condo. You get 3 days to review that. You should know that, and your agent should be telling you that. Really important. If you don't like anything in there, you don't have to go forward. If you ask a question about anything in there, your 3 days start over until you get your answer. So make sure you're looking at that closely. And then the last one, number 5, that I would say is really important to know is how many rentals are in the community. And in addition to that, what is the percentage of rentals? Because if you have more than 50% rentals, then you can lose your ability as an owner to finance in the community. So you might say, well, I don't care. I'm not financing. I'm going to pay cash. What if you want to sell in 3 years? What if you want to sell in 5 years? You will then have to sell to someone that can only buy cash. Now, if you're buying somewhere where almost everybody is paying cash, you might have some sense of security about that. But let's say you buy in something that is considered an affordable price point in Florida, I'll put that in quotations, and let's say it's $300,000. And you might say, well, you know what? I have $300,000. I am going to pay mine. But then you go to sell in 3 years and nobody else can do that. Everybody else is trying to borrow and they can't because, this happened in Florida. I'll give you a real life example. In Florida, I can think of 2 communities, condominium communities, where I won't name the type of company, but it was a blue collar labor type of company that went in and they bought 60% of the units, this was new construction, they bought 60% of the units that were being built, and they rented them. They were put in a huge building. You can probably, some of you might say, oh, I know who you're talking about. They were put in a huge building in Southwest Florida, and they were going to hire literally thousands of people, and they housed those people in this community. Well, what happened? Anybody else who bought and didn't know, because these were new construction. So you didn't know who was moving in where. These weren't even up yet. So the people that bought with the purpose of living there, building a life there, they didn't realize that they weren't in the future going to be able to sell to anybody that couldn't pay cash, because that one purchase of all those units screwed it up for everyone else. That is common in Florida. Now, you might say, how do you avoid that? Well, there's a condo questionnaire that has to be answered. The HOA, it's a big, long, legal piece of paper. They have a certain amount of time to get that filled out and back to your lender. Make sure you're getting that. Even if you're paying cash, make sure you're getting that, because that will tell you how heavy the rentals are. When you buy a condo, it is so important that you work with an agent that's familiar with all of this. Work with a lender. It is not a bad idea, if you need a lender, to ask an agent who you trust, who they would use as the lender, because I understand that you're coming from New York and you probably have relationships in your hometown, and your buddy can help you with the purchase. But that doesn't mean that they understand all of these subtle things that can create a big quicksand problem for you here in Florida. So it's never a bad idea to talk to more than one lender, because you don't know what you don't know.